Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us for this weekly media briefing. I don't have any particular announcements, so maybe I'll open the floor for questions. Siddhant, why don't we start with you?
Hi, sir. Siddhant from Beyond. So my question to you is the readout from China's side over the meeting between NSA Doval and China's Wang Yi. They claim that there was a consensus between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President in Bali. If any comments can come from the Indian side from the MEA.
Okay. Reza?
Reza from the Hindustan Times. Same question, but actually, since Siddhant has already asked it, 3 members of an Indian wushu team couldn't travel to China because they were given stapled visas because they're from Arunachal. I was wondering if you'd like to comment on that, and what is our stand now on this issue of stapled visas?
Yes.
Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. The Parliamentary Standing Committee yesterday has suggested, amongst other things, that India considers economic cooperation with Pakistan. Any comment from MEA?
Sorry, can you just give me a pencil? That's what happens. Thank you.
Sir, Ayush Iqbal from ANI. So this is regarding the Indians trapped in the fake job racket in Myanmar. We saw this statement by our mission yesterday. Just wanted to know how many Indians are still trapped in the region, in Yangon and in the neighboring Laos and Cambodia, if we can have a sense of that. How many Indians are trapped and how many are still that needs to get rescued?
Okay, I saw one more hand somewhere. Yeah, Abhishek. Sorry, I missed you. Next one.
Hi sir, Abhishek Jha from CNN News 18. My question is regarding this statement by the government that illegally from Myanmar about 700 plus people have entered India. So have you escalated this with the Myanmarese government as well?
Okay, let me try this round of questions and I'll come back for a few more. Siddhant, on your question regarding the statement, I think, about the NSA meeting with his counterpart, I think that was what you're referring to. Look, we have already issued a readout of the conversation, but your question, I think, was specific to a meeting, refers to a Bali meeting. Now, if you would recall that during the Bali G20 summit last year, we had said, and Foreign Secretary, remember, had a briefing, that Prime Minister and President Xi Jinping, at the conclusion of that dinner, hosted by the Indonesian President, they exchanged courtesies and also spoke of the need to stabilize our bilateral relations. As you are aware, we have steadfastly maintained that the key to resolution of this whole issue is to resolve the situation along the LAC on the western sector of the India-China boundary and to restore peace and tranquility in the border areas. So that's what would be my response to that. Reza, your question regarding stapled visas, you mean yesterday evening or yesterday night's development? Look, on that issue, let me just take you back. This has been something that we have discussed many years ago. Our long-standing and consistent position is that there should be no discrimination or differential treatment on the basis of domicile or ethnicity in the visa regime for Indian citizens holding valid Indian passports. It has come to our notice that stapled visas were issued to some of our citizens representing the country in an international sporting event in China. This is unacceptable, and we have lodged our strong protest with the Chinese side, reiterating our consistent position on the matter. And India reserves the right to suitably respond to such actions. Yeshi, on your question, look, on the Parliamentary Standing Committee, this is the 22nd, I think, committee report. There are parliamentary conventions and we cannot comment on recommendations. There is a process under which we will respond to the recommendations made by the Parliamentary Standing Committee in all its depth. They made a number of recommendations on various aspects, particularly neighborhood first as well as our other relationships. So I'm afraid today won't be an opportune or correct time for me to comment on that. Our position on, of course, relations with Pakistan is well known, but let us wait for what the ministry will formally convey to Parliament. I think that would be the right way of going about it. कौन सा वाला? मैंने जैसे कहा आपको कि पार्लियामेंट्री, जैसे यशी को कहा भी, कि पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी की रिपोर्ट के बारे में वो प्रश्न था. ये उचित नहीं होगा उनका कि हम अभी इस पे कोई जवाब दें, क्योंकि उसकी एक नियम और एक सिस्टम रहता है उनका कि हमें जवाब पार्लियामेंट को ही देना पड़ता है, पार्लियामेंट स्टैंडिंग कमेटी को ही देना पड़ता है, तो उसके लिए वेट कर लें. पाकिस्तान पे हमारा क्या रवैया और किस तरह से कोऑपरेशन करता है ये तो सबको भली बात ही मालूम है, पर पार्लियामेंट के जो स्पेसिफिक रिकमेंडेशन है इसके बारे में डिटेल रिस्पांस हम पार्लियामेंट को ही दे पाएंगे, अभी उस पर कमेंट करना उचित नहीं होगा. Ayushi, your question, I wasn't sure what you exactly had in mind, because look, this issue has been coming, every now and then it pops up. We haven't heard too many new cases, except, of course, there was a statement by our mission in Yangon. But let me refer you actually to the statement that has been made. I think it was in Rajya Sabha, was it? Yes, day before, or was it Lok Sabha yesterday? I forget. We have answered a statement where we've given a sense of the numbers. In Myanmar, how many have been, repatriated or rescued from there. How many are still, stuck is very difficult to estimate, and I would not like to speculate, and we have discussed this in the past. But over 200, I think 290 odd numbers were talked about that actually come back. Similarly from Cambodia, Laos, so different routes that are happening. But I would refer you, since Parliament is in session, refer you to our, the Parliament question that was responded to. I think that would give you an exact picture of what is happening on that. Abhishek, your query was on this media reports about, I think, Myanmar, how many people... I'm not sure it's a government statement. Somebody said, but I'm not sure the government statement. At least I haven't seen the government statement. So let me make the following points. One, the issue of illegal migration, illegal immigration is dealt with by other agencies. So let me refer you to them on this issue, specific issue of illegal immigration. Of course, from a larger perspective, as you are aware, since February 2021, the security situation in Myanmar has had implications for our northeastern states. Illegal transboundary movements, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and smuggling are among our growing concerns. And these issues have been raised with the Myanmar authorities. You would also recall EM met his Myanmari counterpart in Bangkok earlier this month. And I think we responded to this last week. EM had raised the importance of ensuring peace and stability along the border areas, between our two countries, which have been seriously disturbed recently. So let me leave it at that. Any more questions? Yeah, please.
Hi, Pia with The Print. The US State Department recently commented on a viral video that came out of Manipur, calling it brutal and terrible. And it also encouraged a peaceful and inclusive resolution to the violence in Manipur. Any reaction from MEA on this?
Okay. Kalun? Yeah, right at the back. I'll come to you, Eliana. Just give me a second.
Kalun from The Hindu. Several leaders in Manipur have raised concerns about narco-terrorism coming from Myanmar. The language is often very aggressive and sort of seems to blame Myanmar for many things that are going wrong in Manipur. What is really your take on that? I mean, is really India's relation with Myanmar taking a hit?
That's your question, right? Okay. Okay, since you're sitting next. Okay. No, she's sitting next. I wanted to give it to Ileana, but I think... Swasini, go ahead.
Arindam, I'd like to just you to clarify what you just said, because you said that the Prime Minister met with President Xi Jinping at the conclusion dinner in Bali. And you said that they exchanged courtesies and they discussed the border situation. That's not something that was said before. I'm just looking right now at the Foreign Secretary's own press conference at the time. And he said, I will only say that Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, who were both at the dinner yesterday, exchanged courtesies at the conclusion of the dinner. So I just wanted to confirm that there was more actually discussed, because so far nobody has said anything substantial was discussed in the manner that was reported in the Chinese statement.
Fair enough. Ileana.
Good afternoon, Ileana Tas, News Agency. Today and tomorrow, Russia hosts second Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg. A lot of African leaders came to Russia. And my question is, so do you follow these deliberations, these discussions, and how Russia and India maybe can deepen its cooperation on Africa? And also on the sidelines of the summit, Russian president said that Russia expects that African Union will become a full member of G20. So what India's position on such a new member of G20? And maybe this issue already included in the text of the declaration, final declaration of the summit.
Okay. There was one more hand somewhere. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Lady there.
Good afternoon, Livia Rodriguez, Prensa Latina. My question is related to the summit of the group of 77 plus China that will be held in Cuba on September 15 and 16. First, I would like to know if it is already known which Indian personality will participate in that event, and I would also like an opinion about Cuba's role as president of that group. If it is possible, your answer in Spanish would be perfect. Thank you.
While I do speak Spanish, I think this is not the appropriate forum to speak in other languages. I'll limit it to Hindi and English. But anyway, let me try to answer next round. Pia, let me start with your query. You are referring to, there have been a media report recently of some different things, but look, I will limit myself to what I've actually seen, the statements. I think there was a statement by the deputy spokesperson. Was it? Yes, I think so. Right. Let me just mention. Let me take you to Manipur perspective first. As you are aware, this is a matter on which our authorities, particularly the viral video and that incident, as you mentioned, but other incidents also, on which our authorities are taking action to bring the perpetrators to justice and restore peace and normalcy in Manipur. We have seen those comments that you referred to by the US State Department. I think it's July 25th. Which also acknowledge the same. So there's not much I can say beyond that to that statement. Kalol, I answered at length all the concerns that we have had about the developments in Manipur just now. In Myanmar, that is having impact not just in Manipur perhaps, but across in our northeast. And I did mention about drug trafficking. If I didn't, I should have added that. Human trafficking, drugs, illegal smuggling, etc. So I think that is something that is of concern, and we have raised it with the authorities in Myanmar. I'm not going to make a sweeping comments about our relationship with Myanmar, is what you characterized in a particular way. I'm certainly not going to do that. There are issues that we need to discuss. There are other things that we are also discussing with them, including on our bilateral aspects. As you have seen, including during the recent meeting between EM and his counterpart, he talked about the issues that are on our agenda. So let me leave it at that. Swasini, you're correct on that. I should have clarified. That is my statement. So let me repeat again for clarification. During the Bali G20 summit last year, Prime Minister and President Xi Jinping, at the conclusion of the dinner hosted by the Indonesian President, exchanged courtesies and spoke of the need to stabilize our bilateral relations. So that's the statement I'm making. I think Foreign Secretary did mention, maybe he didn't mention the second part of it. He did talk about exchanging courtesies, and I think there was the general discussion or spoke of the need for stabilize our bilateral relationship or relations. And how we see that, I explained that I'm sure you would have picked up. Ileana, your question, look, has two parts to it. Let me start with the second part. On the African Union becoming a permanent member, they are every time invited, they're a permanent invitee. They are there at every G20 summit. We have invited them as the chair of the AU. There is also, as you know, we spoke about it, I think, some time ago, that Prime Minister has written to his counterparts, proposing that the African Union be admitted as a full member. And we hope that this does happen. It will be premature to say this till all countries. It works by consensus. So let's see what happens in the final thing. But it would be India would be supportive and would like to assist the AU become a full member of the G20. African Union, AU. Sorry, African Union. I apologize. And I will have to check the exact dates, but I understand it was some time ago. Let me just finish. 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 Let And of course, you mentioned Russia has conveyed its support. I haven't seen that, but if it is so, obviously that will be a positive step in that direction that we want it to go. On the Russia-African summit, yes, of course, we follow international developments, all international development closely, but I would not be able to answer in any particular detail about whether we have discussed with Russia, and that's in the last bilateral conversation, cooperating in third countries, particularly in Africa. I'd have to check that. But as I said, overall, we have ourselves a very robust cooperation mechanism with African countries. And India, yes. So I don't know what exactly would be the contours of what we would do with Russia in Africa. So let me not comment without further details that I don't have. Ms. Rodriguez, well, nice to see somebody from Prince Latina here. Welcome here. Look, we obviously attach importance to the Group of 77 in China and its meetings, and as you mentioned, the summit that's going to happen. Maybe you're not regular enough on this. My standard answer to high-level participations in any events is very well known for the rest of the colleagues. Whenever I have something to share with you on such confirmations, I will certainly do so, but I don't have any information at this point to share with you. Of course, we would like to see a very successful event, and we look forward to Cuba's leadership of that event, and that it becomes success for this is a group of developing countries on which we believe can voice concerns of our concerns, and particularly in the UN. And once we have a decision of what level we are participating, who will be leading our delegation, we'll certainly share with you. There were some questions. Yes, please. Srinjoy, go ahead.
Sir, time's now. First of all, G20 is just a month and a bit away. You would expect the Chinese leaders to be here. There are still one or two areas in Ladakh where there are differences of opinion, and only a month or so remains before G20. Is there likely to be a WMCC in an effort to sort out the issue, and also a commanders conference?
Yeah, go ahead.
सर मैं मनीष हूँ TV9 से. मेरा सवाल है कि आपने भी सुना होगा कि एक इंडियन सिटीजन अंजू पाकिस्तान गई और फिर पाकिस्तान में जिस तरह से उसको लेकर वीडियो वगैरह सब आ रहे हैं, उससे लगता है कि कहीं वो ISI या किसी ऐसी एजेंसी के कब्जे में हो.
ये आपका असेसमेंट है ना?
हो सकता है सर. तो क्या किसी तरह का कंसर्न आपको लगता है, क्योंकि उसका धर्म चेंज कराया गया, निकाह हो गई है, तो बताया जा रहा है कि सीमा हैदर का जवाब पाकिस्तान की तरफ से अंजू है. थैंक यू.
और को या बता नीरज.
सर, दो सवाल है. ओपनहाइमर जो फिल्म की सीन को लेकर विवाद हुआ है, कोई शिकायत विदेश मंत्रालय तक इस मामले में पहुंची है? दूसरा सवाल यह है कि पाकिस्तान जी
एक सवाल पे रुके, बट एनीवे इस बार सिंस पहला सवाल इतना बोलिए.
दूसरा सवाल यह है सर, पाकिस्तान के मीडिया
से तो क्या इस मामले को लेकर आपके संज्ञान में है? अगर है तो क्या पाकिस्तान से बारे में बात की जाएगी उनकी बॉडी को वापस लाने के लिए?
मुझे तो बताया गया दफनाया गया है, उसके बाद आप कह रहे हैं. Okay, if there are no further questions, let me just close with that. Srinjoy, I am not going to speculate whether WMCC or Commanders Conference will happen. When they happen, we'll certainly share with you. G20 is not too far away, and we are making all efforts and preparations to ensure that it is a success with participation of all the leaders invited. मनीष, आपका प्रश्न था पाकिस्तान के हमारे नागरिक के बारे में. एक्चुअली देखिए, ये विदेश मतलब फॉरेन पॉलिसी इशू तो नहीं है, तो इसमें मैं क्या कुछ कह नहीं पाऊंगा. अगर कोई कॉन्सुलर मुद्दा है या कॉन्सुलर के कोई संबंधी उसके बारे में कुछ इशू है, तो उसी प्रकार की प्रक्रिया की जाएगी, उसी तरह से कोई प्रोसीजर्स हैं की जाएंगी. पर अभी ये निजी मामला है, ये कोई फॉरेन पॉलिसी इशू हमारी तरफ से नहीं है. आपने बाकी स्पेकुलेट किया क्या हो सकता है क्या नहीं. आप पत्रकार हैं, आप लिखिए इस पे, मैं इसको जवाब नहीं दे पाऊंगा. नीरज, ओपनहाइमर के आप वो फिल्म की बात कर रहे थे. देखिए, विदेश मंत्रालय फिल्म्स के एरिया में नहीं है, वो दूसरी एक मंत्रालय है, उनसे आप पूछें तो बेहतर. और आपने शैलेंद्र, आपने प्रश्न किया, एक रिपोर्ट है को कोई बॉडी मिला था, वो कह रहे हैं कि कारगिल से जो मिसिंग है उन्हीं का बॉडी है. हम इस इशू पे, इस मामले पे हमारी कोई जानकारी है थोड़ी बहुत, पर हम अभी पाकिस्तानी अथॉरिटीज़ के संपर्क में हैं। जब ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन आए तो बताएंगे। अभी हाल ही रिसेंट वो इन्फॉर्मेशन है, आई थिंक कॉन्टैक्ट हमारे हाई कमीशन या यहाँ पे पाकिस्तानी अथॉरिटी से हम बात कर रहे हैं और डिटेल संज्ञान करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। नीरज, आपने दूसरा भी एक प्रश्न पूछा था, वो डेफ एंड डम कोई थे वहाँ पे, उसके बारे में मुझे पूरा डिटेल नहीं है कि वो क्या एग्जैक्टली है। हमने भी रिपोर्ट देखी है, उसके बारे में इन्फॉर्मेशन निकालने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, इन्फॉर्मेशन गैदर करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। जब हमारे पास रहेगी ज़रूर हम आपसे शेयर करेंगे। इंडिविजुअल कॉन्सुलर केसेस में मैं बहुत हेजिटेंट रहता हूँ कुछ कहने के लिए, प्राइवेसी और कुछ और मुद्दे भी इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं। Okay, if there are no further questions, thank you very much for joining. No, unless there's something new, Srinjoy, tell me. Okay, tell me.
So your equivalent in Islamabad has taken offense to the statement by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh saying that he has crossed the line and so on and so forth.
Not the LOC, no?
Yeah.
Just the line.
Hopefully. No.
Okay.
So, how do you react to such a thing?
Oh, very simply, Honorable Defense Minister has said something that stands on its own. I have nobody to clarify that or explain that. It's pretty clear. If you have any further thing, please ask him. I have nothing further to say on that. Thank you. Good afternoon.